start.
Okay, now, so this is just the session number 6 of our series of sessions about AWS services. And I'm glad that you can join this session. And today we are going to discuss a very important topic, which is S3 storage. So the storage is always very important in computing, as well as compute, networking, database. But storage is one of the most important services that you can get from the cloud. So this is all about me for new people. I'm Eric Ndindiriyimana. I'm a solution architect certified, and I'm a trainer in Azubi Africa as AWS trainer. So you can get me on LinkedIn by just putting Eric Ndindiriyimana. I'm there on LinkedIn. I use it most of the time. So you can just join me there and continue share our knowledge. So what we are going to discuss today, as I said, is SE3, and here's the content. There are all things, but we'll just try to go through each point by emphasizing on the hands-on, what you can practice actually. And so last time, for those who remember the last session we had last Saturday, I'm not sure if just second. So for those who remember the last session we had last time, we talked about the elastic load balancer and scaling group. So this is a very important topic. As you are in computing, then you need your service not to be interrupted. So let's say you have a very crucial service, web service, where you want most of the users to access it, and you never want it to be interrupted. So you want it to be available all the time. So one thing is high availability, which is mainly try to survive a disaster. Anything that can try to stop your service from being available, you need to avoid that. So one of the techniques to be used is by running your application in at least 2 availability zones. So that's one of the techniques that AWS uses to make sure that the app is always available. Scalability means what? It means, let's say you have built your app and you are assuming that only 100 people will connect to your server, but surprisingly, you get a very high audience, an expected high audience, and you get, let's say, 1,000 users want to connect to your server, and your server is now crashing. I know you guys here in Kigali, you have such experience. Let's give a typical experience during the results of national examination for S3, I mean, for high school, or for those guys who are finishing the school. When you want to check the result, they will tell you maybe service not available, server not available, or it will just refuse. That is one of the reasons, is because of many connections. Or another typical scenario is when you are trying to get a code for driving license registration. So let's say it's whenever, even for provision 1 or for definitive 1, you can experience the same thing. So the load has increased in a way which is really unpredictable. So there is someone who is okay. Thank you. Someone who is not muted. Maybe you can mute. How is that? Okay, now it's sorted, I think. Good. So I was talking about scalability. So scalability means what? You need to make sure that your app can scale up automatically. Automatically means you don't need anyone to be there for your app to scale. To scale means you want to increase the size. There is what we call vertical scalability or vertical scaling, that is increase the size of instance. Let's say you are using instance which is T2.micro. That one will offer you the CPU, how many virtual CPUs, how many virtual RAM, and how many storage, let's say. But here we are only considering or mainly considering the memory and the CPU. Now, if you were using micro type, now you can directly switch to T2 large. That will increase the number of virtual CPU and to increase the RAM that will get. So that will increase the size of one instance. You are not increasing the number. Increasing the number of instance, it is called horizontal scaling. Increasing the number of instances. That is what we call horizontal scalability. So when you are trying to do that, there is another big factor that contributes to the variability of the application. It is called distribution of traffic across multiple instances. So that is handled by what we call elastic load balancer. So it is just a way of distributing the traffic. Instead of the whole traffic to go to one instance, you are trying to balance the traffic between multiple instances that are running. Remember, you have increased the number of instances, that is horizontal scalability. Now you don't want one instance to handle 60% of the load, while other two instances are handling like 20. So you want to balance the load. And also remember, one server may go down by any reason, or the networking device can fail on one instance. So by that time, your load balancer is there to make sure that now, if you were having like 3 instances, the load balancer will be there to make sure that if you are remaining with 2 instances, one instance will handle 50% and another one will take 50%. So that's health check. That's the job of elastic load balancer. So we have a couple of them, like classic load balancer, application load balancer, and the network load balancer. There is another big advantage of using the cloud. Make sure that you have the right number of instances or right number of servers. Let me talk about this. So here I was talking about the vertical scaling and the horizontal scaling and the high availability. Make sure that you use marked availability zone and the load balancing. And the goal of auto scaling is just, there are a lot, but let me talk about 2. The ultimate goal is to have the optimum capacity. Optimum capacity means what? I don't have a problem of server. That means my server is enough to execute or to process or to handle the load. I don't have excess that I'm paying but not using, but also I don't have a shortage. That is scale out means add instances to match the increase the load, and scale in means remove those instances that you don't want. Remember, you are paying for instances that are running. So if an instance is not running, you are not paying for it. But let's say for traditional IT, you need to buy more servers and keep them in your server room because you never know when the load will increase. But remember, you are paying for those servers, but you are not using them. So for the principle of the cloud, one of them is to have the optimum. Optimum means not the minimum, not the very minimum, not the very maximum, but just what I need by the moment. So that's simply, in summary, what we have covered last time. Just to make sure that your system is highly available, it can scale in and out. So one of the techniques is to use elastic load balancer and auto-scaling group. So now let's talk about another important aspect of computing, which is storage. Storage means what? I need somewhere to keep my files. And one of the biggest or one of the main services is what we call simple storage service in AWS. So that is S3 means what? Means simple storage service. That's S3. It's an object storage. Remember, those who were there when we did another part of storage in cloud, we saw what we call EBS, elastic block storage. Block storage versus object storage. So block storage, that's EBS. That's the EBS service which handle block storage. And object storage is another type of storage where we have an object as a file and any metadata, I know you know that, which is data about data. That's the simple meaning of metadata. So it's data about data. Now, the description, the size, the address, location, whatever, those are the metadata. So object storage is handled by S3. So you need to differentiate the EBS and S3. If you see EBS, you have to know that it handles block storage, and you have to know that the S3 handles the object storage. Now, if we say that storage is one of the main service, I like to say that today we no longer have issue of storage. Why? We say we are in an era of infinity storage or unlimited storage. That is S3, one of the best option. So if you are worried about the storage of your files, I don't know how many terabytes you may have, think about S3. It will offer you unlimited storage. So most of websites, they use S3 nowadays, most of the website, and many other services can integrate S3 to be used as the backbone of the storage. For those who are still using free tier account, you have to note that you are given 5 GB of standard storage. We will see what is standard storage. So it's one of the classes of S3 storage. So you are given 5 GB of the S3 standard storage when you are using a free tier account. So from this slide, you have to note that the simple storage service, which is S3, it is an object storage service that stores your data as object within a bucket. A bucket is another keyword here to note. We call it a bucket. So the place where you store your file is called a bucket. When you create a virtual server, we call it an instance, and a storage in S3, we call it a bucket. So bucket, you have to note it somewhere. Now, there are a lot of companies and a lot of use cases where the S3 storage is used. It is used for backup and storage. So those who knows, or maybe everybody here may know what is backup. So you need to make sure that your organization data are backed up every time. That's one of the security option that you should make sure that is implemented in your organization. Disaster recovery, archive, hybrid cloud storage. Hybrid means you have some data on site and you have other data on cloud. Just say. So another application is application hosting. We saw that many of the websites are using S3 as storage backbone, and there are a lot of media hosting which are using the S3, they are data lakes. I know those who are in data analytics or those who have something to do with data, they know what we call data lake or big data analytics. Maybe those who are using Internet of Things devices, which are collecting a lot of data every second or every interval period of time, so they know what is big data analytics. Software delivery, static website, all are the use cases of our S3. So there are a lot of, here you have listed some clients of S3, CMS, Ryanair, Cisco, NASDAQ. There are a lot of them actually, those big companies which are using S3. So those are the clients. So we talked about bucket. So bucket is just, it's like directories. What we create, when we create directories in our normal computer, then that is the bucket. The bucket, we call it a bucket in S3. So bucket must have a global unique name across all regions or accounts. So you can't have a bucket of the same name. So bucket name should be unique globally. And buckets are defined at the region level. Region level, I will show you. If you create one bucket in one region, let's say European North East or North and West, then you can't have, if you move to another region, you will not have the same bucket, or the bucket will not be available in that other region. So if you create, you have to make sure that you create your bucket in this region and you know the region where you have created your bucket. And S3 looks like a global service, but the buckets are created in the region. So even though the bucket name is global unique, but the bucket will not appear in another region if it has been created in one region. And there are naming conventions actually, no uppercase, no underscore. The characters long should be not more than 63. And not should not be an IP address. An IP address should not be allowed as the bucket name, and it must start with a lowercase letter or number. So those are the naming convention you may have about that. And what we call objects. So you see, you have the bucket. It's like you are going to the market to buy something, and what you buy, those are actually the bucket, the objects. So the objects are those files that you input or you upload into your bucket. So you have created a bucket, now you need to save your file. And the job of those buckets is just to help you save the file. Now the file itself will have what we call a key. And the key, it's just like the URL, or it will be something like S3 / my bucket, my file. So it's just a key. It's like an address, actually. And the key is composed, as you can see, is composed of the prefix and the object name. So the prefix itself is my bucket, so the name of the bucket, then the object name, what you have included or uploaded as my file. So we see that. And there is no concept of directories, even though you can create folders, but they are not really called directories. They're just folders or slash. If you do remember Linux, we say the main, the root, it will start from root /etc/password /etc/var, something like that. That slash means directories, even though they don't say directories, but really, if you do remember Linux or even Windows, we say, if you go in Windows, you will see that it will be C/folder/something, just with two dots. So those are just, they may not use the term itself, but the notation can be most of the time the same. So here it is another keyword to know. The maximum size of an object is 5 TB. So you can take a video of 5 terabyte and upload it once in your S3 bucket. But if it is more than 5 GB, it has to use multi-path upload. So actually you have to understand this. 5 TB, that's the maximum object size. But how do you upload that object? So it has to be, there is what we call multi-path upload. That is when you have an object more than 5 GB. This is just to increase the speed of upload, that's it. But it can't be more than one object size can't be more than 5 TB. So if it is more than that, then you have to divide it into more than one piece or one object to make it lower than 5 TB. So the metadata, as we said, they are just value pairs or system or user metadata. So you can also have tags. Tags, they are like, I like to call them like labels. So those are the names that you may give to your object or the bucket, just to make sure you can differentiate them with other object. The version, I will show you what is version ID if versioning is enabled. This is also another important aspect that you are going to see. So let me show you practically what you are going to do now is let's show you how to create a bucket and how to upload the object inside the bucket and how we can access the bucket itself or the object from the bucket and how the object can be made public or not. You may have access denied, and let's see how we can pray for us. But what is in the chat? Okay. Okay, so someone was asking about the previous session. So let me stop sharing and share my console. Okay, just sharing what is one. Let me know if my screen is visible on your side. Can you see my screen? Is it visible? Good, good. So are you guys there? Are you still with me? You can put something in the chat. Can use any reaction and say you're there. You are still with me. Are you guys there? Let me see if there is anyone in the chat. Okay.
Some people give you a thumbs up.
Good, good. That's good. Very good. So let's see. So this is my console. Just I have a free trial account, and this is just my account. And from here, if you browse the service, let's say I want you to see here, there is something called the global. They just mentioned the global, but let me move to another service, for example. Let me move to EC2, for example. So if I move to EC2, you will see here, they will show me the region where am I right now. But if I go to EC3, you will see that instead of showing me the region, they will show me global. So why global? As we said, EC3, it's a global service. That means the name, the bucket itself, the name of the bucket should be globally unique. Now, how do we create a bucket to start uploading our object? So first of all, if you do remember, you can just come here and browse the service Amazon S3 or simply S3. And if you try to type it, it will come just like this. And even from services, all services, the S3 will be under storage services. So if you go under storage services, you will see a couple of services here. There are S3, S3 Glacier, Storage Gateway, EFS, FSX, all those are storage services. So today we are focusing on S3. Now, what do I do to create a bucket? I come here and I click on creating a bucket. So we said that it has to have a unique name. Let's say, for example, let's put test. That's the name that most of people may like to put. And if I come here, I will say, let me know the region. Let me see the region. Maybe let's see Ohio. And let's keep other properties or other options as default, and let's try to create the bucket. So it will not show you from the start that the name already exists, but if you try to click on create the bucket, it will give you this red error that the bucket with the same name already exists. This will not change even though you change the region. I'm in Ohio, and now let's move maybe somewhere in Europe. Let's go in Germany, Frankfurt, and let's try to create the bucket. Still the same name exists. So the name is globally unique, it does not depend on the region. But if we say like UG, Kigali, user group Kigali, then test, or demo bucket. If we do like this, then try to create the bucket. If it does not give you any error, then you are there. To give you this green successfully created bucket and give you the name of the bucket, then here you go, you have created your first bucket. Now, this is the bucket that you have created. If I select it, it will show me some couple of things. So here they are the menus that I will get. The first one is the object. So do I have any object here? I don't. I have 0. To give you some properties, there are some properties that we will see slowly. There are permissions that you can set, and there are management here also. We do something about it and everything. Now let's come here inside our object menu and try to upload an object. So if I come here, I have options to add files from here. Let's say I add a strawberry something, and so it is here. It will just, I will click add files, select the file that I need to add, then click on that file. And if I do upload, it will just show me the progress bar, and here we go. It will take some time just to upload depending on the size of the file itself. So if the size of the file is big, I mean the object. Let's now use the object, because we saw that in S3 we don't say file, but we say object. Now the object has been successfully uploaded. Now inside my object, in my bucket, I have one object. So the one object I have is this one. If I click on it, I will have a couple of things about this object. So it has some properties: who is the owner, what is the region, when was this created, what is the size. So all those are metadata. So they are data about this data. Now, if I try to open this here, if I try to open this object, it will come as this. I can see the object that I have uploaded. But what if I try, do you see this object URL? So this is the object URL that is supposed to be available on. So if I try to copy this URL and paste it inside my browser, what do I get? I get an error here. An error is saying access denied. Why? We'll see that, but you can guess. Every time you get an error access denied, then you can guess, why am I getting access denied? Am I allowed to see this or not? So that's a good question actually, because not everybody is supposed to see everything. It has to be some control over something. So why is it visible here by clicking open, but not visible on under this URL? There is what we call predefined URL or presigned URL. So if what I'm using here is what we call presigned URL. So it's not a public URL that everybody is supposed to see. So what you see, there are long characters of the URL. So that is what I got when I clicked on open, and you can see this. But here on the public one, it gave me boom, access denied. And we will see how we can solve this. So basically, you can come inside your bucket, try to upload something, that's the object, and you have control who can see what, who can see this object, who can see this. So that's the control that you have. And remember, in order to make a good organization of your object, you can create a folder inside your bucket. Let's say folder demo, then keep other options as default, then create our folder. So if you do come here, you will see that what you have now is a folder called folder demo. Now inside the folder, you can now upload other objects. So you can just organize your object inside your bucket, not just throw them all object inside the bucket just like that. So that is one of the things you can do. So what we saw is how you can create a bucket, give the name of the bucket, and should be unique globally. If it gives you the name, the bucket already exists, you have to change the name. The other important factor is to know the region where you are creating your bucket, and all other properties, we will see them slowly by slowly. So let's come back to our presentation. I hope if there is any question about how to create an object, a bucket, and how to upload the object, and how to view the object, but inside, we've pre-signed what we called pre-signed URL. So that's one of the things that we are going to see how we can modify. So if you don't use this pre-signed URL, what can you do? So that's something that we are going to see now. So what we saw basically is how to create a folder, and inside that folder you could upload the other objects. So you could see the object using the pre-signed URL, but the public one is not functioning, is giving us an error. So why is that? That is because of what we call security. So security means what? If there is no security, if you construct a house and everybody can get in at any time, how secure are you? You are cooking your food, delicious food, and someone's coming eat it without you knowing that or allowing that. That's a mess. So you don't really want that to happen. So what will you do? Even for AC3, the same thing happened. So there should be a set of security. So one of the first one is what we call user-based security. If you do remember, I am service they are what we call IAM policies. So IAM policies, what is that? Which API calls should be allowed for a specific user from IAM? So simply, if you see user-based security, that means which user can perform which action. So that is what you are, in fact, managing. There are other security options that we call resource-based security or options. So here we have what we call bucket policies. Bucket-wide rules from S3 console across multiple accounts. Or we have what we call object access control, and we have what we call bucket access control list. So those are the policies that say this is the person that can access this object, or that can access this bucket object inside this bucket. So those are the security. If there is no security, trust me, no one will trust you. Everybody will say, oh, I can develop my applications, but everybody can come and access it. No way, this is not secure. Then they will say, no one will come to your platform. So that's why S3 is trusted, because it provides a set of security. You have to note that the user IAM permissions allow it, or the resource pools allow it. So basically, an IAM principal or an IAM user or service can access an S3 if the IAM permission allows it, or if the resource pools allows it. So if there is no allow in the policy, then the object cannot be visible. And there is no explicitly deny. Explicitly deny means what? Basically, if there is a deny, that means you don't want any access. Maybe you are restricting access to a set of users. Maybe internal users only can view the object, but others can't see the object. And you don't have to forget one of the main security options, encryption. You have to encrypt your object using your encryption keys. And there is a way of managing the encryption keys. Encryption is always the best, one of the best security principles, because even though someone can view the object but cannot decode or decrypt. So here you can say S3 provides three types of security. There is user-based security, there is resources-based security, and encryption. So those are the three main security options that are provided by S3. So we saw what is policy. So policy, if you do remember policy, they are just JSON-based policies. They are just policies or documents that define some set of options and effect and actions. So who can do what on what, on which resource, who can, principal. Principal means a user or a service. Action, what can you do? If you are this user, what can you do? So from this policy that you see here that you will do, you will see that principal is just like a user account or any service. So what action can you do? Get object or view object inside your S3. Then what is the effect? Is allowed. So you are allowed. So in fact, all users or all accounts, if you say asterisk, all users or account are allowed to view the object inside S3. Get object means view the object. And here you have to specify which object, which S3 you are talking about. That's the resource. So basically, that's the policy. The policy defines what a user or a service or account can do on what, on which resources, with which action. Is it denied? Is it allowed? And which resource? It has to be defined very, very clearly. There are a couple of policies out there that can be set. Let's say this one is a public access. So you are allowing the public to view the object inside your bucket. So you can use this policy. We will see that very soon. So anyone who visits your website can actually see the website. There is no need to make the website public if you don't want the public to see it. So this is the public access. We will see about that. Or you can even set some IAM policies where you specify which user is allowed to do what or to view what. That's something you can do. You can even assume a role. So you can create a role and set some users who can view or who can borrow that role, and from there you can say those users can now view the object. But the same thing you can do. Let's say the instance can borrow a role, and from that role it can be used to view the object inside your bucket. So they are what you call cross-account access. So from one account to another, then you can view the object from another bucket. So those are many options that you can view. And there is one which is interesting. We call it block public access. So there is, I will show you this very soon, how you can block public access. So if you don't want your data to be leaked to the public, so you need to block all access, you have this option. So the organization is having its data and they don't want anything to go out. So they actually block all access. This can be set at the account level. So you have to make sure that if you think about security, then S3 is really very secured. And this is what we are going to do. Let's try to visit again our bucket that we have created, and let's try to create a policy, and let's see if our policy, if our bucket will be publicly accessible. Let me share my console again and try to see how you can make your bucket publicly accessible. And is it visible from your side? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Thank you. Now, what do you remember? You remember that we could see inside our object, inside our bucket, sorry, we have a folder and we have a file, which is a PNG file, or which is a photo that you could see, but using pre-signed URI. So, but what if we want to view this? What if we want to view okay, so what if you want to view this publicly? Or what if I want you to view this? And I've seen that it is giving me access denied error. So one of the things we're going to do here is let's come in our bucket. Now let's go to properties. No properties, then permissions. So from the permissions, that is where you will set most of security access. So one of the things you have to do is come here on block public access. You see, if it is checked, it means you have blocked all public access, and your bucket, what is inside your bucket will never be visible outside. Now, the first thing we need to do is can you see someone with some noise, background noise? Okay, muted. Now, what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to uncheck block or public access. That's one thing to be done. If you don't do this, it will never be publicly accessed. Then after unblocking this, then I have to save this. And because this is dangerous action, you need to make sure that you are really sure of what you are doing. Are you sure that you want to make your bucket publicly accessible? Confirm, then you confirm. Well, they will tell you, okay, you have confirmed this, then that's your problem. Now, here is something else we can do. After doing this, we did not yet specify who can see what. If we still come here, you will see that it will still give us access denied, even though we have made our bucket publicly accessible, but still my bucket and object are not yet public. And why? What can I do again? So the second step we are going to do here is come here and try to edit the bucket policy. So to edit this bucket policy, actually I have a couple of examples that can guide me on which policy to be created. So if you come here, you click on editing bucket policy, you can see a lot of examples here requiring encryption, managing bucket using canned access control list, and the list is very long, requiring MFI. So there are a couple of policies that you can enable. So for me to create a policy, there is what we call policy generator. So policy generator is a type of interface or URI that allows me to create a policy that we have seen in a JSON format, but now you are not writing the JSON format exactly, but you are just using an interface. So what are we going to do? Which policy do we want to create? That's the first step. Select the policy type. So here we are talking about S3. So you see, if you click here, you will see a couple of policies, IAM policy, VPC policy, S3, simple queue service policy. So there are a couple of services, but for us, we are dealing with S3 bucket. Now, what is the statement? What do you want? You want to do deny or allow? So remember, what we need is to make our object visible outside or publicly. So I will come here in this policy generator and select out. And so which principle? Basically, I'm allowing everyone. So that means all asterisks. If you do remember, this always replace or select all from. And that's a simple query in database. Everyone, at least who had one chance of hearing about database SQL, then he knows select all from. So this is principle. Principle means account or users. So we are basically allowing all users, all accounts to access our what we are going to define here below. Now, which action are we going to allow? So there are a lot of actions, create bucket, but what we need for us is to get, where is it? Get bucket. Now, get object. So we need, or if you do remember here, or we need to allow all principals, all users and account to do which action? The action is get object. So we need to allow them to view the object. And then now you need to specify which resource. Resource means the bucket itself. So the address is here of the bucket. So you come here, you copy it, then you come here and you paste it. Now, after pasting it, basically you are done. So if you add statement and you generate this, you will get this policy. So you could even write this policy yourself, but there is no need. It is now simple. So if you copy this, then you come here, you paste it here, basically you are almost done. Then you need Okay, so you need something. Let me try to save and see. Unexpected error occurred. Action does not apply to any resources in the statement. Here, I need the resource to be or object. So actually, if you can see here, I have specified the resource, but I did not specify which object in the bucket. So if I do slash asterisk, that means slash or object in the bucket. If you don't specify that, then they will say the action does not specify any resource. Actually, the resource is there as the bucket, but there is no object. So let's try to save and see if it can save. Oh, now it's saved. Now, if it is saved by this time, what do we expect from what we did, from the two steps we did? Let me refresh my page. And let's see if we got any modification. This is some modification here, publicly accessible here, and this will be translated in here. Now, basically, I can even give you this, and let me change the browser just to confirm if I can see that object publicly. And I can even share it with you, and even you, let me come back here, here. Let me share it with you. Let me share the link with you in the chat. Let me know if you can see the object. It's my message. Now, can you click on the object and see if you can access it, and let me know? Can you access this object I shared with you in the chat?
On my side, I can access it.
So on your side, you can click on the object and access it. So basically, that's how we make the object publicly accessible. So when we will be dealing with a static website, let's say, or any other object that need to be publicly accessible, remember, this is what you have to do. The first thing you need to do is to just have your object and the coming information. First of all, edit the block public access and put it off, because it is by default on. By default, you don't want your object publicly accessible. Then the second thing is to define some policies, and those policies will define who is allowed to see what and which actions is actually allowed to see. So from there, I think, okay, can access, that's good. So now, from the start, I could access this, I could access that object using the pre-signed URI, but I could not publicly access it. Even you could not, even though I have shared that before, but you could not access that one. Even if I change, if I come here, let me change something. If I come here, I save the changes, then I confirm, then it is changed. Can you refresh the page and let me know if you can still access that object from your side? Can you still access it? Let me see. Can you still access it? Let me see in the chat. No, you can't, simply because I have now enabled block all access or public access. So this is how you can just control what can be visible and what. So if I just put it again, you will see that again. You can confirm that you can see the object inside the bucket. So I have edited again the broad public access. Now, if you refresh the page, you will see that the object will now be visible on your end. So basically, that's it. That's the security, because I know the security is one of the best questions asked everywhere. You are developing a good technology, but how secure is your technology? If your technology is not granted to be secured, then you are finished. No one will trust you. But this one, you can see that you can control these settings and allow anyone or just someone, depending on there, it is just a sample policy, but you can just make other policy. But this one was just make you feel that you can control who can see what. Now, this is what we did on the security of our S3 bucket. So are you still with me? Are you still there? If you are still there, then let's see how you can host a static website on the S3. I will not talk much about this. I will jump directly to the console. Let's make a sort of demonstration on what we can do to just host our website on S3. So you can see I have my bucket here. I don't know if my screen is visible, be visible from your side.
Yeah, it is.
Can you see my screen? Now, you remember that we have our bucket here. So from our bucket, if now I move back to permissions, to properties, the first thing I need to do is, we are talking about hosting a static website. I know you know the difference between static and dynamic website. Static website and dynamic website. I not talk much about this, but know that with static website, there are no back end or server side processing. So you are not processing any data from the server side. That's a static website. No processing of it, just HTML and CSS. So what you need to do is what? You need to come here on properties, and from there is an option under properties of enabling static website hosting. By default, it is disabled. So you come here, you edit this, you enable this. Now, when you enable this, it gives you some sort of options, but the important one is this one. You remember, those who are dealing with, I don't know, PHP or any web development, there is what we call index.html file. And this is the default file or the home page, whatever you can call it. So the same thing applies here. They are not reinventing wheels, if you know that terminology. So they are not making new wheels, actually. They are not reinventing anything. They're just using some common practice that are out there. Then from there, they can just modify some little things, then tell you, oh, now it's what. So here, the index document is really crucial. So this is the document that your website will be read from. Now you need to specify this. Of course, you can even specify something else. Here it is just an option, but the most common practice is just to specify the index.html file, and other options you can leave them as they are. So if you save this change that you've made here, the next thing you need to do is, you see, you don't have the index file. So you need to come and upload the index file. So you should have it somewhere. Let me see if I can get that one. I have it. I have a sample here. This means you can have your own index file and just modify the page as you want. But let's see from my side. Now, I know that you may still, it is still publicly accessible, but I want to show you something, and I want to share with you something else. So if I come under the static website and there is what we call website endpoint. So website endpoint, let's say, take it as the website name. Let me share it with you in the chat. Oh, chat. Here's the chat. Then now let me see if you can access this in this website that I have shared with you. Just take it as website. Can you access my website? Do you have access to my website from the chat?
Yes.
So something is wrong with this website. There are no images, the textile scattered all over the screen. Something is wrong. Something must be wrong. So if something is wrong, then what am I going to add? Maybe there are some files which are missing. So those who are good in web development, they know, or maybe this guy did not learn any CSS. So if there's no CSS, then something is wrong now. But let's upload the file. Maybe it's just a CSS file, or I can even upload the whole folder. Add the whole folder. Let me add the whole CSS folder. This will asking me just to upload the whole folder, and I will say upload the whole folder. Now the whole folder is uploaded. Can you refresh the page? Can you refresh the website? Do you see any change? Do you see any change somewhere on the website? Maybe now the CSS has made some arrangement on the text and whatever, and I've modified something. But still, I cannot see the images. So that is how you develop website, right? I'm not a good developer, but I know this is how to develop websites. So something is missing here. If it is showing me this, it means somewhere there is an image which is not available. So what do I need to do? I need to add a folder which contains my images. I have defined my images somewhere in the code. Then I need to add those images. So if I come back on the file here, and I try to edit it using Notepad++. So from my text, I can see that there are some images. So those are the images which were not available from the start, but now I'm adding them. So from what you can see, it's just a matter of knowing the normal IT skills, programming. How do you develop a website? The website should have a set of files, index file, HTML file, CSS file, and folders, which contains images. And from the code that you have developed, now you have a folder called pages / strawberry tarts.pnds, something like that. So it's just simple as that. They are uploading. It may take some time because I have to upload some MBs. So it may take some time. It may take some. So it's simply uploading. It's just some. So my internet is not going very fast. So, you may say I have internet, but which speed? And which speed is required depending on the use case you are working on. Good. My images are now uploaded. Can you refresh the website? So if you refresh the website, you can see some changes, right? You can see now the images are there. Now, that's simply how we host a website. So steps are simple. First of all, come on properties and make and enable the website hosting, static website hosting, and you define the index file. After defining the index file, come back here under object, upload all required files. There is index.html, there are CSS file, images containing, folders containing images, and all of that, depending on how you have developed your code. what is the source of your images in the code? You know that. Then you define everything, then you upload, simply uploading, then you share the website. Can you see the website? Hey guys, don't ask me those cakes. I don't know where you can find them, but I know you can, maybe somewhere. Cynthia is around Kimilongo, and I know she can have an idea we can get those cakes. So can you see those cakes, guys? Cynthia, can you see those cakes?
Yeah, I can see them. It's hard to look at them without having them.
Yeah. Yeah. So simply this is how you can say I can host a static website. So this is just to make you feel like it is actually possible to have a static website hosted on a S3. So this is what you can just do. Simple steps. Know the normal programming things, know which files you need, and just having a domain, that's another topic. We have what you call Route 53. What is that? And there are other options of registering your domain, and if you have a set of service that you want to make it available under your own domain, it's just another topic, but you have to know that this is feasible and possible, because as you can understand, if you develop your own website, then it should have something like www.maybeinziza.rwa, let's say. So from there, you have the website. So you have to know that is possible to incorporate your own domain using a couple of services out there. Now, let's see. We have just shown how you can simply see okay, in so but I need this one to be just like this. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, we can see the slides.
So this is what we did. We just created our website, and from the website that we have created, we have uploaded our objects and every object we needed. So this is how the website or the URL of your website looks like. There is HTTP, that's the protocol, then bucket name.s3.website.aws, then there is a region where your AWS bucket is created from. So all of this can be replaced by your domain. So there is another topic about that can be created. So about how Route 53 is used to host your website under your domain. So that's another topic. If I continue, there is what we call versioning. Maybe this one is simple to understand. It's just a way of saying, if I have my index file, but I need to edit some text on, or I need to have like a new photos of the cakes. I've made some new design of cakes. So I need to upload those cakes, but without deleting the previous one. What do? I just create versions. It's an option that you need to be enabled, and it helps you just to overwrite changes, but without deleting the previous one. Protect against unintended deletes. Ability to store a version. So you have the ability to restore the version 1 by just enabling it or deleting the current version. So if you need to roll back means come to previous version, then you can do that by enabling the versioning. So we'll see a practice about that, but you need to know that in order to protect your files or your object to be deleted unintendedly, so you need to enable versioning, because if you have versioning, the previous object will not be deleted, but it will be versioned. 1, and the current version will be, let's say, version 2, and the current version will be version 3, and you have version 1, 2, 3 of the same file. So you can roll back very easily. So this is what we did. We can just try to edit. We'll show you. You can just try to edit. If you come back here, let me see what you are seeing. So from here, you see, okay. So you see, welcome to my cafe. Now, if I go in my code and let's say I edit, I'm not quite sure if this one is simple. You can, how to do that. And you are better than me on doing that. So is loading. Okay, now this is just my code of the index file. So welcome to my cafe. And if I say like user group Kigali is user group Kigali Cafe, let's say, just add that. Now, if I save this file and I come back here, you see, this is just the previous version that I'm still having. Now, if I come back, I'm not sure if I don't need to stop sharing and share I need to share this. And so I can you see my console? Is it visible?
Yes.
Now from here, under properties, I will edit this versioning and enable it. So if I enable it, it will be enabled. Now, let's come under my object. If I show versions, all of my objects are just version 1. And they don't have versions actually. You see here version ID, they're just null version. So they don't have actually the version because I did not upload the same file. But this time, because I have modified some lines of code, I need to upload this index file. It's just the name of the file is the same actually, the same name of the file, but with some little modification. Now, let's see. What do I see here? Close this and come under object and show versions. So what do you see here? You will see that you will have the index file, but you have another index file. So the previous file will have a null version, but the latest version of the file, of the same file, we have now a version ID. What do you see from my website? Let me see. Can you see some modification from my website? You can refresh the website and see UG Kigali Cafe. So it is now changed. Now, the current version, that means what? That means I did not delete the previous file, but I have made some modification on it. By uploading it with versioning enabled, it keeps the previous file and it gives me the option of viewing the latest file. But what if I need to roll back? If you can see user Kigali, I can see, no, I don't want user Kigali just to be like this, but I want my previous file to be the one visible. What do? I just come and delete this version. I can actually delete this one to roll back to previous one, or I can simply just if I delete this one, let me show you what will happen. So it will just ask me if I really need to permanently delete this file. And if I do this, I mean, I have deleted the one that I have uploaded right now, but it has kept the previous one. So if I refresh my page, it comes back to the previous file. So I did not do anything. It's just that I have deleted the latest one that I have uploaded, now it rolled back to the previous file. So this shows you what? This shows you that you can keep millions of versions of the same file. Knowing where you need to go will allow you to say, this is the version that contains, developers, you don't delete the files because you may need to roll back just to come back on the previous one. So this is the best option. Instead of, even though I have deleted the latest one to roll back, but I could even keep it and modify the code and now come back and upload the other file, the latest file, and that one will be the only visible. Now I could have 3 versions of the same file, but with different content, and it's up to you to know which content you really want to show. So that's the job of versioning. It just allows you to keep the files without deleting them, because you don't want to lose anything. You want to keep everything. You don't want to lose anything. So that's the thing of versioning. I don't know if there is any question so far. I can look in the chat if so there's no question so far. So far we have seen a lot of things.
Yeah. So what if you upload without enabling versioning? If you forgot to enable versioning and you upload a file with the same name, does it override the existing one on your bucket?
What if we do it and see what we get? Should be a good idea. Thank you for the question. Let me see. Let me see which one I need. Let me know if my screen is visible. How do we test this? Okay, so I'm on this website of mine, which is showing welcome to my new cafe, but I do remember that my code has been modified to be user Kigali group. Now, if I come here and let me go back under properties and disable or suspend versioning. Save changes, you must acknowledge this. Yes, I do. I have disabled or suspended versioning. Now let's come back here and try to upload the same file, the same index file, and see what does happen. There are no version enabled, and here is what I'm getting. So even though I show the version, there are no versions. So what is there? Now let's go back to my website and upload it. It will show me the current file, but without keeping the previous one. You see, even though I show the version, there are no versions because the versioning is not enabled. You see that? So version is enabled, but the previous file is gone, deleted. I think I've been able to answer your question.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Now, let's see what is on our list. So versioning is really good because it enables you not to delete files, but keep files under different versions. That's it, simply. So there is what we call replication. Replication means what? Replication means I have created a bucket under this region, but I need the object to be visible in another region. So that is not by default. It needs to be created and enabled. So what do? I must enable versioning and I must have 2 buckets. there is one bucket in one region one, let's say AU West 1, and there is another destination bucket under US East 2, let's say. So those are two different regions where I have created the two different buckets. Then I enable replication. Replication means what? It enables me to access my buckets in different regions. I can even do different accounts. And it's like doing a copy in another region. Remember, we talked about high availability. You have to make sure that if you want, your object can be accessible in another region, just in a case this happened in this region. So basically, that's the job of replication. So it must be given a proper IAM permission to S3 if you are the user and you need to access the replication. So the use case, compliance, low latency access. Let's say you have users who are in US, but you have created your bucket in Europe, but most of the users are in US. So for low latency access, you need to replicate your object in the US region so that users can have low latency. Or compliance, let's say, you know, those GDPR, those European Union data privacy regulations, they may say you are not allowed to keep our data outside Europe. So you have to replicate those data and maybe make them publicly accessible in Europe, but not publicly accessible in Africa. That can be done in one using the close region replication or same region replication. So close region replication means you are just replicating in different regions, and same region replication means you are just replicating the same region, maybe for logs or live replication between production and testing account. You have different servers, production and testing in the same region, then you can do replication. After making sure that you have tested everything in your application, now you can replicate to the production server. I think that can be. Yes, so that's a good resource that Daniel has shared. Now, so to create a replication, you have to create two buckets and enable versioning. So from one bucket, what you need is just to create the replication rule and specify the source bucket. And under the destination, you need to specify the replicate bucket. That's it, and create an IAM role, and your object can be replicated across the other bucket. So this is something that you can do very easily if you do have your account. So here there are S3 storage classes. They are really interesting to know them, because you have to know which one do I use, or which one does it cost much, or where can I use this one. So we have a couple of storage classes. There is the standard one, frequent access, one zone frequent access, glacial, deep archive, and intelligent tiering. So you can just move manually between one class to another, or use what we call life cycle configuration. Is S3 life cycle configuration means with automatically moving from one class to another depending on what you want. So the durability of S3, it is 11 nines. Durability means what? You can keep your data and you are really assured that 11 nines, 99.99999, your data will be always there without any loss. So you can just have you can on average expect to incur any loss on a single object once every 10,000 years. That's a lot of years. Those are just estimations. High availability for nines. Those are some of the questions which you may encounter during the certification exam. So the durability is 11 nines, the availability is 4 nines. So within a year, just to make you understand what those nines means, within a year, you can expect your S3 not to be available only 53 minutes within a year. How many minutes within a year? A lot of minutes. So only 53 minutes within the whole year. That's the estimation of the time that you may not be able to access just by any issue, any disaster, whatever. That's the average. But it depends on the storage class. So for the storage class, if I just use some few minutes because I'm running late on the time, for the storage classes, the standard one is just the standard one as you can imagine it. It's just the one that you frequently access the data with low latency and high throughput. It's just used by big data analytics, mobile applications, content distribution. They all use standard general purpose. And even static website, they use general purpose S3. But this one, the cost is high. You pay a lot. So what if you don't want to pay a lot, depending on the frequency of accessing the object? So what if the object are not really frequently accessed? That's why they give you options of saying, because your object are not really frequently accessed, you can just lower the cost by saving your object under and frequent access storage class, and you pay less. You are sure that your object will be there. Now the difference will be if you want retrieve your object, it may take some time depending on the standard one. The same thing is with one zone and frequent access. So S3 one zone means in just one availability zone. It's just saving your data in a single availability zone with infrequent access. Of course, you pay less money, but you have what we call a single point of failure, because if the availability zone is down, then you are finished. Your data are lost because they are simply saved in one availability zone. Intelligent tiering means what? You can just automatically move your object from one class to another by automatically setting that. So if, let's say, your object are not accessed within 30 days, move them to infrequent access. If they are not accessed within 90 days, move them to archive, instant access. If they are not accessed within from 90 days to some other days, move them to deep archive, for example. So you understand that for organization, there are current, let's say, financial data. There are salaries of this, maybe this month. There are salaries of this year, but there are salaries of 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. So they don't really need to access those salaries paper unless you go there saying, no, I have worked here and I need proof of my payment. They will go back into archive and try to get those data. So they don't really need to pay a lot of money archiving those salaries paper, so they can just put them in a deep archive. So intelligent tiering means what? It calculates the frequency of access in days. If they are not accessed within these days, they are moved to less price storage class. So you can see there is a comparison table here that you can see how much do I pay, what is the availability, what is the durability, what is the retrieval fees, something like that. So you can just, I will show you a couple of little things about the storage classes and how they are accessible. So we talked about encryption. Encryption means what? You can just simply say, I have server-side encryption. So you encrypt the data on the server side, on the Amazon side. Or you can even upload the encrypted file. So actually encrypt the file before uploading it. So you have two options, server-side encryption or client-side encryption. Server-side encryption means what? You upload the file with plain text, then you encrypt them once they are in S3. Client-side encryption means what? You first encrypt the file, then upload them. So you are actually avoiding what we call man-in-the-middle attack or sniffing or whatever, those who can try to read plain text in transit over the network. So that is about encryption, server-side encryption, then client-side encryption. What is your responsibility when we talk about S3, and what is the responsibility of Amazon? So Amazon is always concerned with infrastructure level, configuration and the vulnerability analysis. And you are required to know, is versioning enabled? Do I have the right policies? Is the replication set up? Do I need the logging and monitoring? Which storage classes have I configured? And are my data encrypted or not? So those are your affairs. So basically, if you do remember what we said, AWS is responsible of the security of the cloud. And you, as the client, you are responsible of the security in the cloud. So once your data are there, you are responsible of encryption, policies, security policies, versioning, whatever access control. Those are the issue of the client, because AWS is there just provide you a house and you are there to maintain the security once you are in the house. So that's it. So for there is another interesting topic that I will just talk in about 3 minutes. It is called Snow Family. Let's say you have a lot of terabyte of data to be moved from your on-premise to cloud, and your network is really not good. It may take a lot of years, a lot of weeks, a lot of months to move your data from the on-premise to the cloud. So in order to facilitate this data migration, AWS provide what is called Snow Family, AWS Snow Family. Those are the offline devices that you buy from Amazon. You connect them on your data center, on your server room, on your on-premise in your facilities. Then they facilitate to migrate data from your local server to the cloud. So that's the context of what we call AWS Snow Family. Those are just devices, not actual services. Those are devices, physical hardware devices that you need to get from AWS, connect them on your on-premise. Then they try to make the data migration very fast. So we have Snowcone, we have Snowball, we have Snowmobile. So those are the technologies. This is just the comparison for you to understand if you could upload or migrate your data using your own network. It may take a lot of years. Let's say you have 100 TB to be migrated. It may take 124 days. How many months? Almost 4 months or something to migrate 100 TB. And they are organization with big data analytics, which may produce 100 TB of data a day. Now imagine the time it will take to upload them if you have internet of 100 Mbps. And imagine if you are in Rwanda and you have an internet of 100 Mbps, you will pay a lot of money. Not quite sure how much you will pay, but it will be a lot. Now, do we have internet of 10 GBs? 10 Gbps? I'm not quite sure. So those are the challenges. So to limit the time that you spend just to migrate your data, then they use Snow Family devices. You have to know that those are just the physical transportation solution. They provide different classes and different size, depending on what you have, depending on the scenario that you have. And I will just not talk about much about this because they are just devices with specific capacity. They are just devices with batteries that you connect offline. Then they try to transport the data because they have internal memory or internal storage. Then after the data is uploaded inside that device, then it can easily be transported or migrated to AWS, simply like that. So basically we have Snowcon, we have Snowmobile to transfer exabyte of data, 1,000 and 1,000s of terabyte of data. And their organizations, for example, imagine a smart city with thousands of camera inside the city. Imagine the size of the images and the videos they are producing every day, and they need to keep them for security reasons. So for that, they need a faster way to transfer those data to another storage. So they use Snowmobile actually. And those are just the comparison between those Snow family devices, and those are just the information you need to know: the capacity, the migration size, the data sync agent. As you understand, you need to make kind of synchronization between the migration and the upload itself. So they provide a lot of options depending on the use case. So what do you do to use those Snow family devices? First of all, you request the device from AWS, then you install it, you install the client, then you connect the storable to your server and copy the file using the client you have installed. Then when you are done, you need to ship back the device. So you have gotten the device will try to connect to your server and copy the files. Then you take back the device to AWS. Now the data will be loaded into your S3 bucket. It's always S3 bucket. Now your data migration is completed. Edge computing, I think some of you may have an idea about this. So it's a process that while it is being created on edge locations. So what is edge location? It's just those locations with no internet or limited internet. So they have just those snowball edge or snow cone to help process the data. Let's say you have a forest somewhere and you need to gather data in that forest. What are the animals there? How is the temperature? What is the humidity? You want a kind of environment conservation application. So there is no internet or the limited internet access. Now you need to take some devices there and install them there, and now make sure that they can actually capture those data, reprocess them, and maybe use the machine learning at the edge somewhere there in that forest. And at the end of some time, we may go there, visit the place once a while, and get those data there. So those are the Snow family edge computing. They should have some processor, some memory, and they should have some computing power and some storage power. And if you understand the context of where you can utilize those edge computing devices, then it becomes easier. So there is what we call also AWS Ops Hub. So you can just, it's like a software you can install on your computer to manage your Snow family device. It's just like a software to be installed so that you can manage your Snow family devices if you are using them. Hybrid cloud for storage, this one is simple to understand. part of the infrastructure is on premise and another part is on the cloud. So what do you need? You need to take advantage of unlimited storage of S3. You don't want your application to go on the cloud, but you need the storage to be on the cloud. So if you understand that, you will need the computing power to be on your premise, but the storage, because you are processing a lot of data, you need your storage to be on the cloud. So that is why it is called hybrid cloud for storage. So you may have a lot of options: block, file, object. If you do remember, object storage, think about S3. Block storage, think about EBS. File storage, think about EFS, Amazon File System. So all those are options. Gateway, think of a gateway always as a bridge between two systems, between on-premise data and data on the cloud. As simple as that. It's just a type of device that will allow you to link the two systems, on-premise and the data on the cloud. So you may have different types: file gateway, volume gateway, type gateway, or are just types of storage gateway that you may have. So finally, if you can just take some real takeaway today, you need to know that S3 is a simple storage service that is an object storage service used to store data on unlimited basis. So you can say you have unlimited storage. So what you need to do is just to create a bucket and upload your object there. For the security, is very secured because you are allowed to make it public, even to encrypt your data and to define some policies. You can host a static website on Amazon S3, which is mostly used today, and you can enable versioning to allow or to prevent accidental deletes of your data. You can even replicate your object because you want them to be visible or accessible here and there in one or two regions. So there are a lot of classes depending on the use case, but it is always a matter of how much you pay and the retrieve time you want to experience. So to migrate a lot of tons of data, you have Snow Family, which allows you to migrate data, and you have a software Ops Hub, which is a desktop application to manage your Snow Family devices. And to manage this data migration between on-premise and the cloud storage, we have what we call storage gateway. So if you need to take some little keywords, phrases here, they are what you need to carry on. Again, continue practicing because that is the only way you get better. Now, Cynthia, I've just used much of your time, but yeah, this one was quite.
Yeah. Can you hear me? I think we missed Eric, but yeah, thank you so much, Eric. This was really insightful. I've learned a lot, and this topic is really a lot. So Eric had to rush through things so that he can cover everything. But if there is anything that you didn't understand, Eric is in the WhatsApp group, so you can reach out to him. And it's really recommended if you can try to find some time during the week to practice what was covered. That would be really helpful because it would help you, understand everything and master them well. So before the Q&A, we can have the Kahoot, which is it's just going to help us make sure that we understand the the topic covered, but also it's not even understanding, it's just for you to know the most important thing that you need to pay attention while trying to learn about S3 and any other thing that we covered. So let me share my screen and then we can start. So yeah, I hope you can all see my screen. Do practice test and then we start. Okay. Loading. Let's just give it some time. Okay. Okay, I'm going to paste the link. So if everyone can click on this link and then write their name, it would be good if we use the actual name, your name, so that we can be able to track who was able to do the test and, you know, help. Okay, I can see Serge. Let's try to all join. And don't worry if you think you didn't understand something well. During the test also you get to understand more about the topic. Okay, Kevin, Ashil. Okay, let me see who's on. Hillary. Okay, Hillary has joined as well. Yizisa, I hope that's how they pronounce your name. I think you're the one missing here. Okay. That's what Yizisa will join. Yeah, I guess we can start then. So yeah, practice test, which is the 6th test we've created so far. Okay, so the first question is Amazon S3 is also known as. Great. It's known as simple storage service. So this is the full definition. Okay, Kevin and Hillary on top. The second one, which S3 storage class is the most cost effective for archiving data with no retrieval time requirement? Okay. Someone chose Deep Archive, and then other chose S3 standard infrequent access. So the S3 standard infrequent access would be the option, but then they said cost effective, and they don't have any time requirement. So when we see the cost effective, it's either Amazon Glacier or Amazon Glacier Deep Archive in case there's no time requirement. But then since they say that the retrieval time requirement, there's no retrieval time requirement, then Deep Archive would be the option because it can take, I guess, 12 to 24 hours to get your data back when you use Glacier Deep Archive, but it's also cost effective. Okay, sales also is going to the top. Let's go. The next question, what hybrid AWS service is used to allow on-premise servers to seamlessly use the AWS cloud at the storage layer? Okay, great. So I can see only one person chose S3, which is wrong, but storage gateway is the right service because they're looking for a way to extend their on-premise storage, but then without moving their data. So that's why storage gateway is the right option. Okay, Ashil also is going to the top. Let's go. Which of the following services is petabyte scale data moving service in or out of AWS with computing capabilities? So two people chose Snowball Age, which is the right one, because with Snowball you can transfer petabytes. I guess is maximum is 80 petabytes, something like, yeah, around that range. And then Snowcone is not the right one because Snowcone you can only transfer up to 8, I guess, terabytes. Maybe Eric can correct me if I'm wrong. And then for Snowball, as Eric said, you can transfer exabytes. So if you want to transfer something more than 80, then you have to look into Snowmobile. Okay, Hillary is on top. So the next question, which of the following is an exabyte scale data moving service in or out of AWS? Great. Yes, as I just mentioned, Snowball is the one because it can help you transfer exabytes, and Snowcone is basically the, how can I say, it's just the smallest one in all these ones. So if you want to just transfer small, like around maximum 8, Snowcone, and then Snowball Age for around maximum 80 terabytes, petabyte, something there. Okay, Hillary is on top. What are objects not composed of? Great. So it's not composed of access keys because as we've learned, access keys help with grammatically accessing your services. So it can't be in an object. And actually, it's not even safe to have them in an object because once someone has access to them, they can, do things which were not expected, which can incur charges. So, and key, this is actually, because it's an object, so it has key and value pair, so it's not the right option. Okay, Kevin is on the top again. Let's continue. Where are objects stored in Amazon S3? Oh, I'm happy for this one. So everyone got it correct. So let's move to the next one. Okay, Kevin on top. So a team deployed in a location with low internet connection would like to move 5 terabytes of data to the cloud. Which service? Nice. Yes. So, oh, so only one got it correct. Some people say it's storage gateway, which is not correct because it's just a gateway. It can't help you to move data, but it helps you access data on the cloud. And it's not also snowball age because 5 terabyte is very small, so you don't want to go and buy something like snowball, which some space won't be used. So for something small, you can just use snowcone. Okay, Hillary is on top. Let's go to the next one. What can you use to define actions to move S3 objects between different storage classes? Okay, only one got it correct. Yeah, I understand maybe you didn't have time to cover this, but life cycle rules. So you can go and define a life cycle rules and say that maybe after 30 days, all this data in this bucket should move to another S3 class, maybe like maybe standard infrequent access or one-zone. So depending on what class, so you use life cycle rules to move data between different storage classes. Okay, Kevin is on top. Let's continue. An organization needs to regularly transfer petabytes of data to the cloud and have access to local computing capacity. Great. So yeah, almost everyone got it correct. So wait, no, only one got it correct. So it's snowball age storage optimized. And it's not snowball age compute optimized because they say that they will be regularly transferring petabytes of data. So that means they will need a lot of storage than compute because by default, a snowball has compute. But then for this part, they need more storage. And that's why storage optimized is the right one. Okay, cells also is coming to the top. An S3 class, that means storage class, for less access data, but with rapid access when needed, while keeping a high durability and an availability zone failure. So they're asking for an S3 class, which offers less access data, for less access data, but with rapid access. Okay, great. I'm happy 2 people got it correct. And then one person chose Amazon Glacier, which wouldn't be correct because here now they've mentioned that they want rapid access when needed. With Glacier, if you need data, you have to wait for like between 12 to 24 hours, I believe. So Glacier wouldn't be correct. Someone chose Amazon S3 standard. This wouldn't be cost effective because the data are not used frequently. So it wouldn't be cost effective to just remain them in general purpose or S3 standard. So, okay, Kevin on the top. By default, S3 buckets and the objects in them are great. I'm happy almost everyone got it correct. They're private. Someone chose none, which is not the right answer because as Eric showed in the demonstration, when you try to access maybe something like an object, it won't be possible unless you have to check that block public access and then add a policy. So by default, they're all private. So Kevin is on the top. Let's continue. After you create a bucket, you can change the name of the bucket or its region later on. So can you change the name of the bucket or region after creating it? Yes, so I can see 3 people got it correct. So once you create a bucket, you can change its name or its region. So if you want to change, you have to create a new bucket with the name that you want and region. Okay, Ashil is also going on the top. So let's move to the next one. Amazon S3 is which type of storage service? Great. So it's an object storage service. And whereas if you want like a block storage, you can choose EBS or Instant Store. But if you want object, then you have to look into S3. So let's move on to the next one. Kevin at the top and Hilary next. So the next question, which of the following is not an autoscaling strategy? This is a topic we covered last week, but also Eric touched on it a bit. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know if maybe you didn't get to read the question well, but it said it's not. Oh, one person got it correct. Okay. So if they say it is not, all these 3, manual scaling, dynamic, and predictive, are all the different ways, strategy of scaling. But then active scaling is not a strategy. So with manual scaling, that means you can just add an instance by yourself, go to the AWS console and add an instance by yourself. But with dynamic scaling, that means you create like don't remember, I think it's a strategy, don't remember the name more. And then you say, okay, in this period, please add another instance. With predictive, it also involves some AI, whereby it can predict in the future, or maybe in the coming days, the number of instances you need to add. So let's continue. The next question was the main purpose of high availability in the cloud. This also was covered last week. Okay, we have one person who got it correct. Yeah, so 2 people said increase scalability, but here we're looking for availability. So why do we need high availability in the cloud? Is because we don't want to, so we want to thrive in case of disaster, or in case maybe there is a lot of people using our website. We want to be able to scale in or scale vertically or horizontally. And I think someone said handle great loads by launching EC2 instances on demand. I guess that also would be correct. But I think application thriving even in case of disaster is like, it also involves this green one. So, okay, Kevin on the top. Yes, we're left with 3 questions. Which service can be used to automate image management processes? This was covered in the EC2 instance session. Great. IAM is not a way to build images. It's just another AWS service that helps you to manage access. So yeah, it wouldn't be the right. EC2 image builder is the right one. Okay, Ashura is also going to the top. Let's continue to the next one. Which AWS offered load balancer should use to handle hundreds of thousand connections with low latency? Okay, great. It's network load balancer, and elastic load balancer is actually a node one. So currently it's no longer being used. So network load balancer is the correct one. Okay. The next one, which EC2 type? Oh, wait, changing EC2 type from T3 medium to T3 2x large is an example of. Oh, great. I'm happy to see this. Yes, it's an example of vertical scaling. Okay, last one. Objects that already existed in the bucket at the time that you enable versioning have a version ideas. Oh, great. Yeah, I'm happy to see this as well. So when you enable versioning, any object that was there before, it has a now version ID and it's not 0. So yes, let's see who is on the podium. Ashil on the 3rd position, and then Hillary on the 2nd, and then Kevin in the 1st position. Thank you all for participating. I hope you've learned 1 or 2 things, and maybe I can leave maybe few minutes for questions if anyone has. Does anyone maybe have something that they didn't understand or question, or maybe some feedback? Anything would be appreciated. Okay, no one? No one?
Just wanted to thank you, Cynthia and Eric. Today's session was really informative. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Yes. Actually, let me share a link here. So if anyone wants to know the difference between the different Snow family devices like Snowball, Snow Mobile, they can check this link. There's a table that shows the difference, like the maximum storage that can be covered by each device. So it would be good to know, because it's usually some of the questions from the cloud petitioning exam come from also in the Snowball family. So yeah, I think then we can end. Thank you all who were able to attend today's session. Next week's session will be covered by another person called Charles from, I guess it's from Kenya. Yeah. So he will cover on databases and analytics. So hope we'll see you again. And also, we're soon introducing, we believe we'll start this Monday, challenges to help you continue practicing even after the sessions. And we'll be using AWS Educate. So if you haven't created an account on AWS Educate, go there, because in go and create it, because it can take like I guess it's a day for the account to be activated. So yeah, so that's it for today. Thank you, Eric, for the wonderful session, and thank you, everyone. Hope you learned a thing or two. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Cynthia, Eric, and everyone else. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.